Good morning, Heidi Foy here from BullFrog Creatives. We are live at the Ford Wyoming Center this morning. BullFrog Creatives is super excited to bring you day two, well, not day two of the CNFR, but day two of the CNFR CINCH morning show. You guys are not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Heidi Foy here with BullFrog Creatives. Hey, we have some wonderful guests. You guys may recognize these guys. They've been on the BullFrog Creatives platform before. To my right, I have Ben Londo, who is the rodeo coach at Cal Poly, and also newly appointed I don't even know the title, co-arena director.
I think that works for you.
All right, and this side I have Mr. CJ Aragon, who is also a rodeo coach at Soul Russ, I believe. Mm-hmm. I know you from not there, like I originally met you when you were not coaching there, so yep. Change is hard.
Yep.
So these guys did fill the shoes of Jim Dewey Brown, who moved up to the commissioner of the NIRA, and now these guys are going to be the arena directors. How is that going? So co-arena directors, is this something that the college rodeo has seen before? Have we done this before?
You know what? I don't think so.
I don't think they ever have before. As far as long as I've been up here, it's always been one person. When I first got here, it was Roger, and then Jim Dewey has done it ever since. So they've always just had one person in charge.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move. There's always so much going on both ends, even when the action's not there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of prep for the next event. When you're trying to put on a show of this caliber, it really helps divvy up the responsibilities quite a bit.
All right. I know I don't want to forget anybody, so we kind of have three, like, arena directors. I don't know. There's a timed event end, rough stock, and then there's kind of a facilities person, and that's a local man, Brent Caruth. So I want to give a shout out to Brent because he's our local dude. I really, being a local person myself, I see a little bit more of what goes into the rodeo on the local standpoint. So I don't want to forget them. Brent is the gentleman that puts together a lot of the arena help. I know that most of the arena help is coaches from all the different colleges, but there are a handful of like high school students that come in. There's some business owners. I know my husband has been on the strip and shoots for a few years helping. So it's just kind of a combination of.
Casper College president was here helping set up. So.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, it's kind of a combination of everybody. It takes a village. It's just like raising kids. To raise the arena, it takes a village.
And Brent's a huge asset because he's local and he has a lot of local connections, the county, the city.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some breakdowns, and he makes a couple phone calls. He gets a welding truck in here, or he gets the people with the right equipment in here to kind of bail us out. Where if we were to have to do it, it would be us making a lot of calls, and we don't have the personal connections that he does to get stuff done up here.
Yeah, and I think that's part of. Listen, the CNFR has been in Casper for 24 years. Next year will be 25 years, which is kind of hard. I mean, that's kind of hard to imagine. But over those years, the relationships get built, the contacts get created, and having local people kind of boots on the feet, boots on the street. Year round and not just during the 2 weeks or 3 weeks that we're doing setup, I think is super important. So let's talk about the performances. How do you guys think the performances have been going?
They've been feeling really smooth. It's like I said, it's nice to have great help, and what's great about our positions is we're new to our positions, but we've both been down on each of our ends. I'm on the rough stock end, TJ's on the time limit, and our help. We were very established with our help, and we've got a good crew of coaches and volunteers down there.
Mm-hmm.
We just hit the ground running this year.
I would say we almost have like an all-star group of personnel here to help us because we've got some of the best coaches in the country. They've been doing this for a long time as well. So, like at our end, I would say it's kind of like a well-oiled machine. Those guys have been here for years, some of them decades. And I mean, every year it's just like they picked up where we left off the year before, and we just move forward. But we don't have a whole lot of. I know on my end we haven't had a whole lot of turnover. We've got the same people there year after year after year, and it makes it real easy for us to come in and just pick up where we left off. And I know one of the things that in slack we did beat Jim Dewey's record for slack times, how long it took to run slack, and we beat it both days this year. And that takes an effort from everybody on both ends of the arena, because if we're fast on our end, it doesn't matter if we're slow on the rough stock end or vice versa. So it was one of those where Ben had everything running smooth down there, we had everything running smooth at our end, and it didn't seem like we were rushed or anything. It just was smooth, and everybody really enjoyed it.
And I think where you really make up the speed is in the transition times.
Yeah.
If we're locked and loaded and ready to go as soon as CJ finishes an event, we just seamlessly roll right into it. And then we're not, like you say, running back and forth, one guy trying to man both ends.
Yeah, so you guys keep saying, we've talked about it, new to your position, but truly, you're not new to the position. I mean, you've been kind of heading up or manning the rough stock, the rough stock end, and you've been kind of doing that already. What changed in your roles?
For me, it was just more of taking a step back, actually, and not having my hand on everything, but just making sure the right people are in the right places. I got Brett Franks down there as a shoot boss, and he's been in the game, knows all the players. And he's done a great job. And it's just me kind of trying to stay a step ahead of him and making sure my crew's got all they need and everybody's where they need to be before they need to be there.
Perfect.
I'd say for me, it's a lot more behind the scenes stuff now. Working with Sonny Deb, working with the stock contractor, a lot of the stuff outside the arena that nobody sees that, we have to facilitate and do ahead of time. And then just turn our guys loose in the arena. Like it's been really nice this year. I haven't had to do a whole lot in the arena because we've got such a great crew down there that, if we get everything prepped ahead of time, they just roll with it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's talk about the competition this year. I know I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of the rodeo, so I'm going to leave it to you guys. Do you want to go in order of events or?
Probably easiest.
Each end. Okay, so you start us out.
Yeah, well, I just got to say on the rough stock end, it's been the nicest set of stock disc golf kids that I've seen as a whole. And these kids are riding, and it's really neat to see how deep our talent is this year. So a lot of our better guys kind of went out on one early, but they're coming back and making good rides in the next rounds. But on a whole, this is probably the most talent I've seen on the cowboy end and most talent on the rough stock end as well.
Well, and
horsepower and the bull power.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, one of the things that sets rodeo aside or apart from other sports is that there's so many different outside influences in how well you do, in your score, in your time. The animals really have to perform, and I would say the same thing on the timed event end. They play a role. If you have a breakaway calf that breaks hard and stops, it makes it really hard to be a 1.9 or a 1.7 like we saw last night. If that calf stops, your horse better be backing up fast or you better be taking off. I mean, the calf or the bucking horse or whatever the stock is, they play such a huge role. So you mentioned that we have a top-notch or top caliber rough stock. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that we have grown to expect it. Being involved with rodeo, we've grown to expect it, especially at this level. But I'm not sure that a lot of the fans maybe watching understand that these student athletes are competing on the same stock that they would at a professional rodeo.
Yeah, and it's tough to put this many good horses together and keep it even and give everybody a chance. And hats off to Kirsten and Bold, because she's done an amazing job putting some extra contractors together and making this happen. And like I said, I mean, the talent is extremely deep. There's a top 20%. You can easily see that
separate themselves.
Yeah, but this year, I mean, it's just surprising, like especially in the bareback riding and the bronc riding. These kids they're all riding really well, really well. I mean, you don't see that hard line like you usually do.
Yeah. And I would add too, we've talked about it a ton on this platform, but these student athletes are able to amateur rodeo, college rodeo, and professional rodeo at the same time. So you guys are going to see names. You're going to hear names that are said here at the college national finals that you're going to hear or have heard at the NFR. And that's pretty great. I mean, you're excited. I know that our local fans are excited to go to the PRCA rodeo because they get to see NFR level competition.
There's a lot of them here.
And you're going to see NFR level competition at the college finals also. And it's just a great product. We've talked about that, being able to provide a good product for our fans, getting butts in the seats, but also for our sponsors. You know, you kind of have the whole package here.
Yeah, it's as good as it gets. I mean, this is probably one of the greatest shows and greatest stories in rodeo.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned stories. I mean, that's one of the better parts too, is that each one of these student athletes comes with a story. They've had sacrifice, they've had loss, they've had wins that have got them here. And you know, Jeff and I talked about it yesterday, that, you know, don't just come with that winning attitude. Don't be happy to be here. Be happy to be here and go for the glory, really.
What's impressive to me is, you know, so many of these are professional and NFR caliber cowboys and cowgirls, but they're sticking with their game plan. They're getting their education, and that's what college rodeo is you know, getting their education first and getting the rodeo while doing it before they go on and pursue whatever they do professionally.
Yeah, one of the young cowboys that I had an opportunity to interview in the alleyway was Kincaid Henry. And this young man, and actually I remember in his interview, I asked him what he liked most about being in Casper and being at the college finals. And he said, I really like rodeo and being around kids my own age. And I didn't really think about it when he said it, but it makes sense because he's also 8 or 9 in the world in the tie-down roping.
He's around a bunch of older guys.
So the atmosphere is different, but that just goes to speak to the caliber that we have coming through the ranks of college rodeo. He was very clear he's going to go on, he wants to rodeo, and he's going to get his degree. I believe business degree.
I don't
know. There was a lot of agriculture and business,
bit, so, yeah.
but he was a great interview, and also a great interview, very well spoken, I caught him off guard. It's one of those
You've caught a lot of them off guard.
things. Don't make eye contact. They're like walking back there. Yeah, here she comes. Don't make eye contact. Anyways, but just stepped up and had no problems with it. Which some of them
need help.
scatter when they see me coming, and some of them are totally fine with it. But I think that also speaks to that level of professionalism once you step up to the pro ranks too. So I feel like we maybe beat a dead horse here, but it's a great level of competition when you come to the college rodeo. So I feel like that also is a really good transition for you.
Yep.
No one in particular in the bareback riding.
Oh, I've got a lot of favorites.
Yes, you can't really talk about favorites when you're the arena director.
Right.
How about you? Do you have favorites?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you both have your own teams here, so
Yeah.
you have to have favorites.
Yeah. Well, and then a lot of these kids, you know, I don't know about, I'm pretty sure Ben's in the same boat, but a lot of these kids we recruited and they end up going to some other schools and stuff, but it's still neat to see how they develop and how, you know, how they mature and stuff. You know, we've got a lot of great coaches in the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association, and there's some coaches that specialize in events, and I don't blame kids for going with some of those coaches. And it's just really neat to see how they progress and how they advance. And then a lot of times, you know, we don't see them from the high school finals until here. And then when you see them here, it's like, wow, they really did come along this year.
Yeah, you're very cool about this right now, but there's got to be some level of like, oh, dang it. Like I missed out on that one. I tried to get her, or I tried to get him.
The frustrating thing for me is there's been kids before where I was like, man, I'm kind of tapped out on scholarship money. I don't have money. And then you see that kid come up here. It's like, wow, they're really good. I missed the boat. I should have gone out and picked cans in the ditch or something to find more money to get that kid a scholarship because they were deserving. And that's probably one of the most frustrating things I've had as a coach is every now and then we totally miss on really good kids. And the good thing is there's enough coaches and enough programs that most of those times they get the opportunity to shine somewhere.
And that's kind of what's beneficial about our positions now is you're very invested in every kid that, you know, nods his head in the box, and you're involved with them on every ride. You know, I try to talk to all those kids, and mine or anybody else's. You know, if I remembered what the horse did, or if there was something I could offer to help get out better, or you know, you really get attached to each of these kids' stories. And so I mean, it's kind of like watching all of this as your whole team.
Yeah. I know I've talked about it on our platform before. We have college kids that board their horses at our place, and they're not my children, but they're definitely my adopted kids for sure. I mean, we feed them, we take them in, and I know one of our girls is doing pretty good, so we're
excited.
Yeah, and I get more nervous watching than I ever did competing, which I'm not really a big fan of, but it's still pretty fun. All right, tie down roping.
Tie down roping. We've already talked about it. Kincaid Henry is leading the average. I think Kincaid's roped really well all week. Looking down the list, it's pretty neat because Pinola's winning it, Casper's second, Feather River's third. It's neat when those ropers are from all across the country. It's not like we're one region or one school is dominating it. We've got kids from all over the country that are doing well in the average. In the round, I guess I don't have we got the average twice. I thought I had the round, but
you have the round.
The tie down.
I do not.
But we'll just look down here.
8-3.
Shatter and Coldfield from up here at University of Wyoming's winning the round. I expect in this third round, I think it's going to take some sort of 7 to win the round.
Buckets.
There's some good calves in there, and when you look down the list, we've got a lot of really good ropers to go. I would bet money that a 7 will win this round.
Yeah, it's getting wolfy down there.
Yeah.
Now, what's the arena record?
I'm not sure.
I feel like we've come pretty close to a lot of them.
The breakaway rope, when they announced that we tied the arena record last night, we did not, because last year there was a 1-6.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I know the 1-6 in the breakaway roping is the arena record, but I'm not sure what it is on the tie down roping.
It's got to be. I mean, the 7. I feel like
I've seen some 7. I've seen some 7s up here.
Okay.
I remember Corey Solomon roped 1 and 7 up here. There's been a few guys rope some and 7s up here.
That's great. I really like to see the arena records be broke because, I mean, it speaks to how much better the competition is getting.
Mm-hmm.
When you think you can't get any faster because there's really nowhere else that you can make those corrections to make it smoother, and then it does. It's just pretty amazing to watch.
The talent, just since I've been up here, this is my 15th year coaching, but in a lot of these events now with the junior high and high school and all the clinics and stuff available, these kids are farther advanced than they were in the past. I think we've got a lot more kids up here that are capable of competing on the PRCA level right now than we've had, like Ben said, and that goes in all the events. There's just, the talent is a lot deeper across the country in every event.
You can really see it in their mental state. A lot of these kids that are freshmen here, but seem like they're veterans. And then the junior NFR, junior American, all these.
Yeah, those larger events at a younger age are kind of preparing them mentally to step into the ring.
Usually you see a freshman here, and it's deer in the headlights and shell shock, and then these kids
been there.
They've been there, done that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I never really thought about that a lot.
Breakaway roping. Breakaway roping's tough. I'm just looking at the list right now. 2-7 is 10th in the third round, and we're only halfway through. 1-7 is winning the round, and then in the average, we've got 5 girls that are under 8 flat on 3. I mean, it's going to be tight for the national championship on Saturday, and there's still a lot of girls that have a chance to get there with them. A few years ago they changed the rule. Well, I say a few years ago, it's been a long time now, when they changed it to bell collar only, and we saw our times kind of drop off. Now with all it's picked back up, and it's got even tougher, I believe. These girls rope so sharp, they score sharp, they're riding nice horses, and they have so many opportunities to go compete across the country now that, like up here, it's become one of the events. If you stub your toe at all here, you can't win. If you miss a start, if you bobble at all, you've basically taken yourself out of competition up here. And the funny thing is, I think the 2 events that you see that the most in up here are the breakaway roping and the goat tie.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's just pretty amazing to see how far this sport has come just in the last few years.
So let's talk about that rule. The bell collar catch, for those of you that are rodeo fans that maybe don't understand that, bell collar catch means that it has to go around the neck. So you can't have a leg, it can't be a half head, it has to be bell collar.
It has to be just right around the neck.
And it did change things for a little while, now that you mention it. I mean, I always thought that it was a good rule, because then you're kind of allowing the cream to rise. Those girls that can get that 8 to come around and snap tight, that's a bell collar, that's going to be a bell collar.
Well, it went from being, I thought, an ugly spectator sport, because a lot of times for the fan that had never been to a rodeo, when they see a girl rope and it breaks off on a back leg and then the rope falls off, they're like, well, she didn't really catch it because the rope's laying on the ground out there, but it did break off the saddle horn. And now you can tell when it's a clean catch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it forced the girls to rope better.
Yeah.
That first year after we did that, I felt like our times kind of slowed down, but the girls caught a higher percentage, but times were a little slower.
Mm-hmm.
Now they figured it out where they're just as fast or faster, and roping even better than they've roped in the past. So
what are the rules? Maybe you guys don't know this, but what are the rules in like junior high?
Junior high and high school, they can catch as catch can. It's still, okay, if it goes over the head, over the nose, over the head, as long as it breaks off the saddle. And then college is kind of the first big stepping stone where it has to be clean around the neck.
I think they're going to go to bell collar in high school too, though, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
They need to.
So how it works, how it has worked in the past is whatever level you're at, junior high, high school, would refer to the next level of rule book. So that makes sense, and I assume at the PRCA level, or I guess it wouldn't be PRCA, it would be WPRA. It's bell collar at that level.
Yep.
So I feel like it was a good step. Were we one of the first ones to do that? Of course, breakaway roping didn't happen
I think we were.
At a women's level. This was the highest level for breakaway roping.
For a while.
Yeah.
When did that rule come about?
I was on the board when it did, so it was at least 9 years ago.
Oh, I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah.
Well, I think it definitely amped up the sport across the board, and maybe even prepared them to be able to take it to a professional level.
I think it helped elevate it on the professional level. There's been a lot of things that have helped elevate it, but a lot of these rodeos adding equal money and stuff. But having the bell collar catch where they can, it's easier for the fans to follow when they see the rope around their calves.
Well, and it's faster. Yeah. On a production side, it's a much faster event to put together if they're just in and out. You don't have to get off and get your rope.
It's tough for our crew to keep up with the breakaway ropers because, tying the neck rope and stuff, those girls they're used to going fast now.
Well, and that's a kudos to you, CJ, because the breakaway roping in the past, I mean, they can kind of get in there and slow things down and want to get everything right. But I don't know if it's all these junior events, these girls being more seasoned. I know CJ's crew is doing a great job down there, but they're in and out. And it's speeding the rodeo up, it keeps the energy up, and you can see it keeps the time fast and keeps competition high.
When they're coming close to arena records and stuff, that's what I think is neat in here is, I was actually talking to somebody about it last night, is as we go farther from Tuesday to Friday and even Saturday is electric in here, but the energy builds in here all week. And, the faster these kids go, the higher they score on their rides and stuff. It just all builds to Saturday. And if you're not in the building, it's hard to describe.
Yeah. Yeah. Even, I've gone live for a couple of events. I did the Tuesday night opening live on these Facebook pages, but you just can't really feel it unless you're here.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to explain. When the house goes dark,
the spotlights start.
Yeah, just be in your seat when the house goes dark, because.
Well, we've got a new sound system too that's really amped it up. Yeah. I know on our end the energy just feels so much more electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So what's our next event?
Saddle bronc.
All right.
Yeah, saddle bronc riding has been really impressive. There's been some real wolves that have gone out on one, but I got to give kudos to Justin Browning in the Queen State. Justin's the coach there. They've got a handful of kids that are really riding tough. That's Shea Fournier, Ryder Sanford. They've been really impressive all week, and it's neat to see that team aspect. You know, every time one of their guys rides, that the entire team is there rooting on. And I know they're doing well on the girls' end and on the time event. They're doing really well too. So, but those, like I said, they've got about 4 kids that can really ride on that side, in the bareback riding, bronc riding, and they're showing up this week.
Very cool. And I think the saddle bronc riding to me is kind of magical, because they have this, if you get a rider and a horse that get in sync and are in that rhythm, it's very pretty, honestly, to watch the rhythm and everything kind of go together. So it's one of my tops.
Yeah.
Bareback riding, I feel like I'm getting beat up just watching them.
There's some of them here that, it's pretty rough watching, and then there's some of those, you know, you get Cole Franks and a couple of those upper end guys, and it's really fun to watch, because Cole finished 4th in the world last year, you know, so these guys are getting to watch some of the, like Ben said, some of the best in the world.
Yeah, and there's some really good talent left to go on that 3rd one. We've got a kid in there, Cal Poly, Quentin McWhorter. He's got his 3rd one tonight. You know, and CJ and I were talking about this, and I didn't know if this was a smart coaching move or not, but on the way out here, not only did they have an 18-hour drive to Casper, but I sent Quentin and
we talked
my
about
bronc riders 4 hours further into South Dakota for a match.
How did it go?
On Saturday night, before they had to get on one Sunday morning here. Quentin was 82 in the long round, won the long round, 85 in the short round. They walked out of there with 8,000. Reed won $600. Carson won $600-700.
So it was worth the
next
for 4 hours.
But where it got scary is right after Quentin got off his short round horse, they lost power because that tornado came through.
Oh my
And
gosh!
they had golf ball hail. I guess the speakers were flying off the announcer's booth. They tipped a semi over on the highway when they were leaving. It was pretty touch and go.
Pretty western.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Reed and Ely went with them, and they took Reed's mom's car, and I guess it looks like
Pretty rough.
been through the ringer. So
They're still looking on the list here. There's still, you know, 5 or 6 guys that they draw the right horse. They're going to be in contention can be in contention for national championships, along with the 5 or 6 we've already got up there.
Yeah. It's going to be tight to make short round.
Yeah.
So I know in the bull riding, it's not uncommon for us to see contestants make it back without covering all 3. Is it the same in the other events, or is it pretty?
In 15 years, I've seen the bull riding one time on forehead.
Oh.
Yeah.
One time in 15 years.
And
like 7 years ago.
Yep. It was I believe it was a kid from CSI won it on forehead.
Yeah, and I don't think that is anything against the talent that we have here,
Well,
but the bulls.
there's some pretty good talent on the other side of that too.
Yes.
Bull riding here. I mean,
Absolutely.
with the bulls that she brings, I mean, they're bucking NFR bulls and stuff here for these guys, and they're bucking them in the slack rounds too.
But they've been, they've been pretty overall pretty user friendly bulls.
Yeah.
And they're great bulls, but they're not dirty, treacherous, hard to ride, rank bulls. I mean, they're all something. I mean, any one of these bulls has a chance.
Yeah, gives them a good chance. All right.
Steer wrestling.
I'm partial to this event because both my dad and my brother were steer wrestlers, so
Me
it's
too.
one of my favorites. Yeah, it might be your favorite too, huh?
Yeah. Blake Benz made a really good run last night. It was 4 flat. He's winning the round. The steers up here have been they were fresh coming in here. They had never been jumped before the first round here. So there's been a little bit of that. But in the average, Tucker Alberts from Missouri Valley, Ken Mason, this kid's bulldog outstanding all week. He's been 5 flat, 3-4, 5-3. He's got a big lead in the average. I'm kind of partial to Ty Allred. Ty went to school for me for 2 years. He sits second in the average. And then Mike Nanini from Montana State. He was really good on his first one, and then he's kind of been longer on his next 2. But there's still a lot of guys. We've got a guy from our region, Walt Arnold. He won the first round. He was 4-2 on his first one, 4-2 on his second one. And I believe he comes back tonight, and he's got a really good shot to be right up there with the leaders. Gavin Swallow he's the defending national champion. I'm not sure when he comes back, but he's good on too. So there's a lot of these guys that can really bulldog well. There's a lot of guys that are, there's a lot of opportunities for these guys now. O'Berry has his world championship junior steer wrestling and stuff. So, you know, you've seen a lot of these guys' names for years coming up through there, and you know, there's a lot of these guys that bulldog really good, and there's a lot of good horsepower up here as well.
So do we see at the CNFR, do we see as much horse sharing
Yes.
as we would at the NFR? Or even at the regional rodeos?
I know, like, Walt Arnold's got 3 or 4 guys riding his horse up here. Tristan rode his horse. And then up here, there's a lot of hazers that haze. There's a few hazers that I say are head and shoulders above the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And up here, they've hazed a lot of steers, and they've hazed a lot of good steers. So these guys that are hazing well, I mean, that's huge up here, because where the out gate is on the right side, a lot of those steers want to step right, so you have to have a good hazer to make sure that they get a good go.
Well, and how important is that on fresh cattle in a short setup?
Yeah. This arena this year is 179 feet, 7 inches long. So if you miss your start, you're, and we've had a few that have ended up in the bucking chutes or crashed into the bucking chutes. So, you know, the margin for error in the steer wrestling here, you can't be late, and you've got to be sharp, and you've got to be mounted well to do well here.
So I did have an opportunity to talk to Tristan, which you pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I totally missed the boat on that. I did interview Tristan Hutchings behind the chute.
He's very specific about the type of sandwich he
very
likes.
specific about the type of sandwich he likes. But my bad for not doing research. He is our reigning national champion bull rider and qualified in the steer wrestling, which, I don't know, I kind of feel like there's events that go together as a contestant, like
Probably not the
team
two again.
roping and tie down, like, but not very often do you hear bull riding and steer wrestling. Or truly, it's not as often you hear a rough stock event and a time event. I mean, I think that's a little more rare now too.
I think it's a little more old school. Like when, I don't know, it's neat when we go through the history down there at Sul Ross, like Cody Lambert placed in the college finals in steer wrestling.
Oh.
And saddle bronc riding and bull riding. So, you know, those guys used to it used
everything.
to be a lot more common. Tuff Hedeman placed in the team roping at the college finals.
Oh, I did not know that.
And actually, the college finals, he did best in the saddle bronc riding. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that he was a team roper. He did everything but ride bareback horses. So I think it was a little more old school, and I would describe Tristan as a little bit more old school. He's one of those guys that, you know, he's kind of a cowboy. He goes out there and does what he needs to do.
I think you'll see more of it. I mean, as college rodeo's gotten more competitive, and it's to
That
make
all-around
yourself, to make yourself more competitive as an all-around, as an asset to a program that you want to do. You know, I've got 4 kids that came to my school, and they just worked the time event in, and now they're all riding broncs. I might make them do it. Lisa riding broncs.
I wonder where that came from.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I've talked to lots of girls. I think it's the same thing on the women's end, that, you know, for so long, because there were really no other opportunities after college rodeo, you came in with a barrel racer, and they didn't pick anything else up. I mean, I didn't pick up I picked up team roping when I was in college, because I did everything else. So what else could I do to get more all-around points? Not that I got any points in the team roping, but I sure donated. That's all right. So, but I think that's something to think about, especially on the ladies' end, for them to pick up. You know, if you got a good barrel horse, maybe he'd be a good goat tying horse too. Maybe not.
I don't know, some of them are pretty bad in the alley already. I don't know if you want to give them another event.
And I think goat tying horses are right up there with barrel horses right now.
The goat tying horses are worse than the barrel horses up there in the alley. I will say that.
CJ's definitely got the danger on that.
Yeah. Short straw.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Goat tying.
Yeah.
Goat tying here.
It's woofy.
The first round, I was standing down there with the coach, and his girl was towards the beginning, and she tied one at 7-1. He's like, man, that's going to be good. She ends up 37th in the round.
Oh my gosh.
With a 7-1.
Well, already, we're not even halfway through the 3rd round, and you've got less than a second between the top 12.
Yeah.
Oof.
We're just over a second.
I know they tied one in 5-7 up here earlier this week. They've got 2 6-1s leading this round, and we're only halfway through. So,
and you look at the sheet, and there's another 10 deep that can easily jump into that top 10 or 12.
Yeah, where they've tied both of theirs already, and both 6s
Very
already on both of their
competitive,
first 2.
Yeah.
I've said it for years. I think the goat tying is probably our most competitive event, but goat tying, this is also the World Championships, this is the pinnacle for goat tying, because after this, there is no goat tying in the WPRA. This is basically the highest level that you will see in the goat tying. And I don't know if people appreciate how athletic these girls are, but I mean, it is pretty amazing what they accomplish up here year after year after year. It seems like, you know, our score line stays the same every year up here, and these girls get faster every single year. And it used to be, you know, there would be a couple girls that would be in the low sixes, and now
a majority of them.
Yeah, there's girls from across the nation that can tie them in sixes consistently, low sixes consistently, and now we're even getting down into the mid fives, and that to me is amazing. And a lot of that, Jim Boy Hash brings the goats up here, and he brings an outstanding set of goats every year for these girls. And I think it's great because it's the same as the rough stock. It just lets these girls showcase their talents up here.
Okay, so I had a really good conversation last night in the VIP room with a gal that college rodeoed and also judges a lot of high school rodeos in Wyoming. So are we doing the sport of goat tying justice by having, I mean, the goats are great. What do they weigh? 25? I mean, they're not big goats. They're great. They're super easy to tie.
I think they're 40 to 60 pounds.
And they're not very big. They have to be at the bottom of that. There's a weight limit per rule.
Go pick up one of them.
Well, I've picked up plenty of goats. You've been carrying them around, have you?
No, but I know the crew, and they're deceivingly heavy.
Well, so let's talk about that, because, you know, of course, I heard it from my mom. Oh, the goats we tied back in my day.
I've seen pictures back in their day. They did tie big goats.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculously big goats. Billy goats.
Mm-hmm.
There was one college rodeo in Havre that we literally tied billy goats. But let me tell you, it changed the competition. It changed who came out on top, because then there's a whole nother level of, I would say, cowboy that comes into play when you're tying something. Yeah. Tying something that's not just going to lay there.
Yeah.
So what does it do if they're not the best goats? You know, if they don't just suck back on the rope, but they give, you know, if there's goats that give the cowgirls a little bit more try. Does that make sense?
See, I would like it here, in my opinion, here, we need to have the most even set of goats that we can, so that we can make sure that we get the right person as the national champion.
True.
You know, the tough thing, and it's with any event in the stock up here, is they've all got a mind of their own. They're, you know, when the music's playing loud in here and stuff, there's some horses that buck. There's some that it's a little intimidating for them, and they may not have their best trip. It's the same with the goats. It's the same with the cows and steers. But our goal is to put together the best set of stock to make it to where we end up with the best contestants as national champions.
Well, this is a great setup too for that, because it's 3 and a short.
Yes.
You know, so even if you have a tough go, or you have to get around a bad goat on one, you know, like say Caitlin Miller, for example, she was 7'8" on one goat, but she was 5'9", 6'2" on the other two.
Right.
So, you know, there is a chance to let your talent show through, even through a bad draw or, you know, a bobble, and still get to show your talent, and the cream still rises to the top.
Yes.
And like a lot of college rodeos you'll see, and CJ can attest to this, but throughout the year, if you have a bunch of one-hitters, you know, usually at the end of those one-hitters, you know, oftentimes it's not your best breakaway over.
I would agree, because I was more of a one-hitter myself. I mean, consistency was not my friend.
Yeah, these average rodeos and 3 and then short rounds, you're really separate the pack.
Well, and I'll also add, Jim Boy Hash is the one that brings the goats, and many of you guys on the BullFrog Creatives platform know Jim Boy because we have partnered on some other projects, but he provides the most even set of goats year after year.
And he does it for a lot of the big events around the country. You know, people recognize it's a lot of work to put together a set of goats like he does, or like Kirsten does with the bucking horses and stuff. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and people are starting to recognize that, and he's getting a lot of contracts on a lot of the better rodeos.
Well, and I would add too, if the calves have never been run or the steers have never been thrown, how do you create an even pin? Because you have no idea what they're doing, what they're going to do, how they're going to react. So, and it's the same with goats. Like, that's a very interesting piece, I guess, that maybe I've never thought of. So anyways, I enjoy the goat tying. The girls are going very fast and they're not slowing down, and they're going to feel that later.
Well, the horsepower this year is impressive. That's where I see a big difference in years past. I mean, all these girls are fast on the ground. I mean,
Yes.
They'll beat you, any one of them. You know. But the horsepower is what I've really noticed here lately. I mean, you can see it, and we're getting ready for the next event down in the Rustock, and I've just got dirt flying behind us because those horses are cooking and having.
I had a coach point out to me last night, almost exactly what you're saying. He said, how interesting would it be if we took these same girls and had a ground tying match?
Yes.
And I think if they did that, they'd have to go to the hundreds.
Oh,
because there are so many of them that can be so fast that time into the tenths, you're going to have so many splits that it's not even going to. And if you look at the goat tying right now, there are so many splits that it's that tight.
Yeah.
Well, and I would add too that in what I've been able to watch, the difference between the 6-second run and the 5-second run is your horse.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how fast can you be from the start line to the stake? And then the rest of it, like you said, the ground tying is very equal. And you don't really see anymore a lot of I don't know, everybody calls it something different, but you don't, when you're gathering, you don't see a lot of scoops. A lot of it is already done. I've noticed that ladies are gathering the back flank. When they flank, they're grabbing that flank closest to them rather than the one on the outside. So then they can twist that hip a little bit. But that's more common. That was not as common when I was going, when you were going. So it's been really, really fun to watch. Just like every event, little things and tweaks and changes that have made the competition that much stronger.
Well, and that score line, when they ride out of the box, it's 40 feet to the score line and then 80 to the stake. And that's not a lot of time to get a horse up and move them.
And mostly year round, these ladies are competing on a 100-foot score.
Yes.
Yeah. And usually a 100-foot score and probably
65, 70 feet.
Yeah, so even more.
Line. So, I mean, we're looking at half of what probably
you've got a
we're
lot
running that all year long.
Yeah.
It always blows when a girl's away, like goat tying qualifiers have been lucky enough to have 2 to 3 every year. And we set up the CNFR arena, our home arena, and it just baffles
so different
how tiny it is compared to what we're used to rodeoing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you're counting 3 kicks, 4 kicks, and a get off.
They do, and like what I think is amazing here is how many of them you see all year that have a whip, and here you don't really have time to whip and still
get back to the horn.
Yeah,
and get off.
Get prepared for a get off. There's a lot of girls that pull it off, but there's a lot of girls that I've seen that I've watched them before, and they're used to whipping, and they don't whip there because you just don't have time.
Too many things in a short amount of time. All right, you guys, we're going to take just a quick commercial break. That's funny, commercial. All right, you guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Perfection almost looks easy. But it isn't. Here's to those who go the distance.
All right, we are back. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Heidi Foy. I have Mr. Ben Londo and CJ Aragon. We're just shooting the shit, basically. How's that?
Yeah. All right.
Beep, beep. This is a family show. Sorry. Thank you guys for joining us. For those of you that are watching on the NIRA page, let's see, I can see where you guys are watching. Nobody's watching on the NIRA page. Well, for those of you that are watching on the official CNFR page or BullFrog Creatives, make sure you go over and give the NIRA page some love also. And if you're not following any of the 3 platforms, please do so. Each of them provides just a little bit different content. The NIRA is kind of a 10,000-foot view of college rodeo. The official CNFR is where you're going to find a lot of results, probably a lot more specific to the CNFR. And BullFrog Creatives, I do a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. So stay tuned. Please tune in and follow. All right, you guys, what event are we on?
Team roping. Team roping. Kind of team roping.
Team roping is always hard
Well,
here.
this is a tough setup for the team roping. They don't have any room to really go left. Steers are wanting to run right to the out gate. There's a lot of things that go against them. They don't, these guys, a lot of these guys haven't seen setups like this very much before this. They'll see it if they go on professionally, they'll see these setups more. But, and you can really tell the Johnson boys who rope professionally and go to a lot of pro
regularly,
they handle this situation really well. There's several other teams that handle it really well because they go to pro rodeos and they see these small setups a lot more often. And you can really tell when they get up here that they handle it a little bit better than a lot of kids that don't see these setups. Boy, the team roping, we've only got 5 teams that are clean on 3 so far. And when I say clean on 3, they still got a lot of penalties. But there's still a lot of really good teams to go. So I expect it to get a little bit tougher. The neat thing is we always have some teams up here that can be really fast. Last night there was a 4-8. Gillette and Casper College, those boys made a really, really good run. They're leading the round by over a second. And
Casper College is heavy on team ropers.
Casper Jet does a really good job with his team ropers up here.
Team ropers and saddle bronc riders, I would say.
And but when you look, we've got kids from Sam Houston, Wharton, CAC, and Northland Pioneer College, and then Cisco and Weatherford, and then Cal Poly and West Hills, all right there in the mix in the go round. We've got 4-8, 5-9, and then 4-6 flats. So these cattle have actually held up a little bit stronger than I thought they would this week, and this is, like I said, this is a tough place for these guys to rope and to rope well.
So we talked about that in our kind of regional wrap-ups, is how you prepare for such a different size. You might compete in different size arenas throughout your region, but again, like you already said, we set up for this size pin so that the goat tires could prepare. And I think the 3 events that really, really comes into play is the goat tying, the barrel racing, and the team roping. And so we see that, just as you were talking about, we see that at this level, I would say every year. Not that the team roping is bad, it's just different setup.
It's a tough setup.
Yeah.
On this setup, this score, and these cattle this year, I mean, the team roping is the most unforgiving at the scoreline, I would say, on the time event end.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's shown in the results.
Well, and off camera, we talked about, or maybe it was on camera now, I don't know. There's a couple of events that you can make a mistake and still maybe be in the hunt. And there's a couple that you can't even blink wrong. Goat tying, breakaway roping, those 2 for sure. But team roping is definitely one that we're going to see some errors.
There's going to be teams that place in the average and high in the average with legs or barriers this year, just because of the conditions here at the event center.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it speaks to their level of talent.
I go down the list. There's several of these guys. The Johnson boys just missed CNFR last year. We've got some other guys on here that rope phenomenally well. I used to work for the USGRC before I started coaching, and there's a lot of these guys that they compete at a very high level year round and stuff, and can win pretty much anywhere you send them. It's just a tough go here, and especially over 4 head.
And it's neat watching some of the more seasoned competitors and roping smart. Going not taking bad shots, setting things up,
the Johnson boys on their second one.
Absolutely.
So we've talked a lot about the different setups, but let's get a little bit more specific for some of our fans that are watching. What is different about the team roping setup?
Well, it's a 12-foot wide, 16-foot long box, so that's pretty standard. You see that a lot of places, but this arena is only 110 feet wide, and that head box is dead centered on this arena. So you basically only got 55 feet from the center of the head box to the wall, and you don't have very far to go. You can't go left very far, so you've got to have a really strong head horse and pull one up the wall, or you've got to have a lot of things go right where you can get a shot quick enough. Because a lot of these headers, even when their heelers catch, they get into that wall and it makes it tough for them to face.
So let's talk about that. They have to face, both sides have to face, they have to be dallied before you get a flag. So if you're stuck on that wall and you can't get back around and pull tight, then you're losing seconds.
You're losing time.
Yeah.
And I've seen it here a couple times this week where the heeler has the steer roped and the header gets into the wall and he can't pull any farther. And the
And the
heeler ends
heeler-
up losing the feet, losing either both feet or one foot
Yeah.
because the header can't keep pulling that steer and keep the rope tight.
So is it a possibility for the heeler to hang back a little bit and push that steer?
I've seen that happen though too, and then they get towards the bottom end of the arena when the header leaves, steer's going right,
And the
head horse
heeler's
is
not
going
there?
left, and you run out of rope on the head side really quick.
This is a tough place to be as a healer, because you want to be out there and everything's going to happen faster to get a good shot before the wall.
Right.
But you can't be too strong and run them into the wall with
Right.
the header, and you can't be late. You know, if you let things
So
go too
many
far.
little things, so many little things. And then, of course, making sure that the header gets out and doesn't, is not late also is crucial.
It's really critical here because, like I said, the score's even here this year, so 16 foot, and it's made it tough for a lot of these headers.
All right. So there's so many things we could go into about the contestants getting out, but I think we're not going to talk about that because it can get very detailed. All right. What's next? Barrel racing.
Barrel racing has been tough. I'm looking down the list right now. We're
Have we
halfway.
seen any sub 14?
Not this week.
Been close.
It's been close.
What do we got? 14-1?
14-13.
Winning this
The ground's actually been better here this year. The Casper committee and city of Natrona, or the county of Natrona and stuff, they went through, in the past we've had a lot of rocks up here.
Yeah.
And this year they went in and screened the ground and they put a lot of sand in it, which has probably made the ground a little bit deeper, which is probably might be why we haven't seen any 13-second runs this year. But as a whole, I think it's made it a lot better competition because the ground has been a lot better. When we look at our times, 14-13 is winning the round and 15th is a 14-5. And we're only halfway through the round. So, we've got less than 0.4 of a second separating first from 15th and halfway through the round. And it's going to get, I think we're going to have a lot more times up in that range.
When you haven't seen near the slips or stumbles
Yeah.
or other hazards that we have seen in the past. This ground is great. I know we've been battling a little bit with the moisture content on it a little bit because it is so much different feeling than the past. That sand has really opened the voids up and helped keep things fluffy, which it will get a little deep, but it damn sure holds up better.
Yeah.
And then,
And I firmly believe, we'll see a 13. Typically, ground will get better
as it
and
goes on.
faster as you go on.
Well, and it's I mean, our crew up here has done a great job, but it's been a learning process for them too, because the ground has changed from years past up here. So we've been working it. Another thing that probably people don't want to talk about a lot, but we've had this door open down here and the wind's been blowing through here a lot the last few days, and it's helped dry out this ground a lot faster. The good thing is in the slack, the barrel racing is the first event. So, normally it doesn't affect it very much there, but
The evening performance.
the evening performances, having that door up in the wind, especially the last couple of days, the wind's been pretty brutal.
That Tuesday slack, it was like a wind tunnel here.
It
was
was.
just a steady cloud of dust going through that.
In the average, Southwest Oklahoma State, they brought some barrel racers here. They're sitting first and third in the barrel racing right now. 4272 is winning it. 4321 is sitting third right now, but you can go all the way down to 10th place is 4389. So got just a little over a second separating first from 10th, and we're only halfway through. And there's still a lot of girls to go that have a really good shot of moving up in there. Dr. Al Wagner there at Texas A&M, he brought a lot of really tough barrel racers. They're kind of getting known for that down there, and I don't know why, but they all seem to ride Palomino horses too. But yeah, Dr. Al's got a great group of barrel racers. There's a lot of these girls. Taylor Moykins is a defending national champion, and right now she's sitting sixth, and she's as tough as they come.
Well, and you can see the consistency in the ground there. I mean, look at those times.
Yeah, 2.6,
There's not a
2.4.
lot of disparity.
Sadie, who's winning it, was 14.26, 14.24, 14.22. That is
Faster
that's really
every run.
that's and real consistent too.
Consistently getting faster.
Yeah.
She might be our first one.
Very cool. And it's always fun to watch because I also feel like you learn how quickly they're going to be. I mean, you can watch and almost called a timeout. But then you get those deceiving horses in here that look like they're loping around the barrels and they throw out at, 14-14.
It's neat because there's almost like two different styles of barrel horses up here. There's some of them that like you said, they're just really smooth and they run. And then there's a couple of these horses that flat turn.
Yes.
And in this building, if they can turn really well, as short as the pattern is, they don't really have to be as fast if they can turn really well, and they can make up a lot of time there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun watching those horses and the ladies, because it does take some jockeying to ride a barrel horse. So, all right, last event, bull riding.
The bull riding, we got our defending champion, Tristan Hutchins, TJ's boy, and he's always super impressive. He's 84.5 in the second round, 82.5 third round. He's just been on fire. TRC brought a couple bull riders, Cole Skinder and Casey Roberts. They've made some great rides. They're both good on two. We got two more guys left in the average that are good on two, but it's been awesome bull riding. What I've liked about it is every one of these bulls looks like a chance. They're all great right outside the gate. A lot of them really good to ride. It's probably the toughest to put this many good bulls together as far as a rough stock event. And these have all been very rider type bulls that these kids can show off on, and the talent is rising to the top.
We talked yesterday, Jeff and I talked yesterday, that there were a handful of opportunities for people to cover 3 at this point. And I see there's a couple more opportunities left.
Yeah, one is one of my favorites, Andy Guzman. He's from California. I got to watch that kid grow up and ride bulls, and he is such a quick-footed, athletic little fart. And he's made 2 great bull rides, and excited to see what he does on his third. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Well, it's the bull talent up here is as good as you're going to see anywhere as well. So, I don't expect anybody to ride 4 up here this year, to be honest with you, because we've seen what they're going to buck in this third round and what they're going to buck in the fourth round. It's tough to ride. You look at the list over like we were talking earlier off air. In 15 years, there's been 1 year where I've seen them ride all 4 bulls up here. Yeah. And I think that's more of a testament to what Bull Rodeo puts together as far as bulls. I've seen Sage Kimsey up here. I've seen a lot of really great bull riders up here that were not able to ride 4 bulls just because of the level of livestock up here. And I don't think that's anything bad against our bull riders. I just think it's a testament to how good of stock we have up here.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the format too, and what's different for bull riders at the CNFR than other places that they're going. I mean, PBR, I know, is a little bit different. Sometimes you might get on 2 or 3 in a night, but maybe nothing similar to this. I mean, even comparing this format with the three longs and a short to the NFR, where you have 10 rounds and that final round, it's just a little bit different format. Does that come into play at all?
For some of them, like there's been years up here where I have students that are a little banged up and they end up drawing up. They have to get on their second one Tuesday morning in slack, and then they get on their third one Tuesday night in slack. And a lot of times that's some of the toughest for some of these rough stock guys. Especially a lot of these guys that are going down the road, if they're a little banged up and you have to get on 2 in the same day, then on the same hand, you might get on one Sunday, you might get on one Monday or Tuesday, and then you might not have your third one till Friday. And allows you a little bit of time to get rested up and stuff. I say that Tristan flew out this morning for Reno to go to Reno to the Extreme Bulls tonight. So, a lot of these guys, even though they're here, they're going to other events. I know, and that's in all the rough stock events.
Right.
Yeah, especially in the rough stock.
What can be tough is, injuries are very prevalent on the rough stock end. And if you come in here hurt, or you're hurt on your first time, there's not a lot of time off to recover.
Those first 2 days get you.
Yeah, so it can really be grueling, and just like the NFR, where if you start out the week with an injury, it makes for a long 10 days.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought I had a guy pointed out to me yesterday. Tristan has been on 6 bulls up here now, he's actually been on 7, but he's rode 6 bulls up here, and out of the 6 he's rode, he's won 3 rounds. I thought that was pretty neat.
Pretty good odds.
Pretty good odds. When he rides them, he's normally pretty good.
He dang sure left no doubt on the second round there.
Well, so something we talked about off air was the team aspect coming into the college finals. I've talked to, and I actually learned something during the regional wrap-ups coming up to the college rodeo, is that it's not always just about putting the points earners on your team, but it's about establishing a defense. I think you were the one that talked about that.
Yeah, on the regional level.
on the regional level, but establishing that defense. So what comes into play when you pick, I mean, if you have, I know there's some other things that come into play that are out of your control, the rules, and, if they win their event, they have to be on the team. I don't know, but how do you pick your team coming into the CNFR?
Well, first of all, yeah, if they're in the top three, if they qualify for the college finals and they're in the top three, unless you have more than 6, you have to pick them on your team. And then it's the top 5, 30% rule, where you go down and you pick let's say I have 3 people qualify and I've got 6 spots to fill up here. Then I have to go down, if they're in the top 5, 30%, you pick those guys up next. And if you don't have any there, then you can go down and pick up.
Bring someone up.
Most of the time, if you have a team qualify up here, you've got guys in the top 3. You've got guys that have earned their spot up here, and
you already have your team.
You already have your team, or that's been my experience.
And that happened for me this year on my women's side. I had 4 buys, and that's my 4
team.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys that are watching who may not know, the men's team consists of 6. The women's team consists of 4 women. So it's a little bit different, but like you said, if you already have 4 buys, that's your team. You don't really get to be creative with your team choice there.
And I was lucky enough, we had the all-around and reserve all-around, and they get to pick up an event. So I've got 4 girls here in 6 events.
Very good.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And Ben has a tough group of girls up here as well.
So let's talk about that. You guys talked about picking your teams being very similar to fantasy rodeo.
Fantasy rodeo.
Because on any given day, it's anybody's turn.
Well, I've had teams that have been strong on the rough stock end. I've had teams that have been strong on the time events end. If I pick a bull rider and he happens to draw 2 bulls that don't fit his style or away from his hand or whatever, he's not going to do very well. Or if you draw a steer wrestler and his steer stops at the neck row, we pick the team before we see the draw or anything. So it's one of those things that when we pick our team, we're hoping that the draw goes in their favor. There's a lot of factors that have to work out well for them to do well. There's a lot of days we look like geniuses for picking our team. There's a lot of days we look like idiots for picking our team. Everyone's going to second guess you when you're in this position, but we're trying to do the best for our kids as individuals and as a group. And I think that all the coaches here would tell you that, that we're doing our best to pick who we think is going to do the best at the regional rodeos and up here.
Well, you guys, we're coming up on we're over the 1 hour mark. We probably could talk for another hour, but we won't. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate your time this morning. I know yesterday was Wednesday, so it wasn't I forget what day it is. Sorry, I forget what day it is. Yesterday was softball. Oh my gosh.
They beat us in the championship game.
Oh, so every year at the CNFR, there's a softball tournament. There's coaches teams, and then each region puts together a team. So West Coast region has won 2 years in a row now.
Beat Southwest region 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row?
2 years in a row. We squared off in a championship.
I feel like they'll need some redemption.
Something.
It's coming. So today, contestants are able to participate in a golf tournament out at Paradise Valley Country Club. Always something to do in Casper for sure.
Isn't there a skeet shoot today as well? There's a skeet shoot today as well.
Are they still doing fishing?
I'm going fishing right after. As soon as we're done here, I'm going fishing.
All right, well, let's get wrapped up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to some of our telecast sponsors. I don't want to miss anybody, so I have them written down. Platinum Performance, of course, CINCH Jeans and Shirts, who is a sponsor of this beautiful morning show. Autolite Spark Plugs, Visit Casper, Visit Wyoming, and of course, PRCA. We would not be able to do half what we do without the sponsors. So many more national sponsors. CINCH Jeans and Shirts, Ram Trucks, Cactus Ropes, Cactus.org, Heal-O-Matic, Cactus Gear, Resist All Hats, and again, Visit Casper, Powder River, and Maynard Buckles. We want to give them all a shout out. We appreciate all the time and effort they put towards the college rodeo as an industry, and we would not be here without them. You guys, stay tuned. If you want to, don't stay tuned. We're leaving. Stay tuned to this channel. If you guys want to ask questions or comments, please comment and rewatch, share with all your friends, tell everyone. We're just trying to share about the greatness of college rodeo and get some little bit extra publicity out there. You guys, if you have not purchased tickets, I will say, I'm not going to say that word. We won't say that. There are still tickets available for Friday and Saturday. So if you've been thinking about it, you better get it done. All right, y'all, we'll see you tomorrow morning, and catch us on Instagram and Facebook tonight. Thank you.
No matter what's going on outside of you, everything priority-wise comes behind what your horse needs. What matters most is what makes you get up every day, what makes you go in the barn and spend the time with the horses. It's not about the attention, it's not about the fame that may come with it if you do well, it's about loving the sport and loving the horse.